Wenn du jetzt Bürgermeister dieser Stadt wärst oder deiner Stadt wärst, was wäre die erste Änderung auf dem Gebiet der Mobilität, die du vornehmen würdest und für den Stadtraum, um das zu verbessern?
Lo que impediría es que se llenaran por completo los autobuses.
Insbesondere am Mühlenkamp müsste man zusehen, dass man die Autos ein bisschen von der Straße kriegt. Natürlich, da ist links und rechts wenig Platz für Fahrradwege. Insofern müsste man das vielleicht eindämmen, zumindest für gewisse Uhrzeiten.
Denegaría la entrada a los coches en la ciudad.
Reducir el coche privado, fomentar el coche público.
Asi bych dala přednost cyklistům a pěším zónám. Bylo by dobře, kdyby se lidé mohli pohybovat.
İstanbul'un belediye başkanı olsaydım ilk yapacağım şey sanırım toplu taşımayı daha ucuzlatıp daha çok insana ulaşmasını ve daha kolay olmasını sağlamak. Belki saatlerini yayardım ya da ne bileyim daha çok yere ulaşmasını sağlayabilirdim.
Možná bych vyhradila nějaký čas, kdyby vůbec nejezdili auta třeba v centru, třeba po nějaký, já nevím, jestli to je.
Já bych navrhla určitě to s těma kolama nějak vymyslet, aby to bylo bezpečnější pro ty cyklisty, aby se nebáli třeba tolik používat ty aplikace, protože si myslím, že
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this third session of the second day of the EIT Urban Mobility Knowledge and Innovation Community Summit. This session is about living labs and citizens' engagement. My name is Florinda Boschetti. I'm the head of City Club with the EIT Urban Mobility. Just one word on City Club before starting. City Club is the community of cities and local governments which are collaborating, so working together in this knowledge and innovation community to accelerate the transition to a more sustainable urban mobility system and livable urban spaces. This morning we heard a lot about urban spaces, and I would like to emphasize urban spaces and placemaking, because this dimension of creating public realm in cities and spaces for people will be at the core of the activities that the KIC will be conducting in the coming years with the cities. So focus on urban spaces and freeing up space for people. So as we have heard this morning and yesterday in very good other panel discussion, there was a lot of talk about the cities, the role of cities as drivers of change, cities implementing and deploying innovations, trying to upscale the pilots and experiments that they are conducting together with other stakeholders, but also cities which are boosting this transition to climate neutral mobility. Now, we all know that the cities are at the front line in addressing major societal challenges and economic challenges. We see it especially now during this very difficult year with a health pandemic. Mobility has a lot of challenges as well. It's a very complex domain where several challenges are posed. Cities are not only the places where challenges are created, but also where solutions can be found. We have heard this morning from Annalisa Boni, who's Secretary General of Eurocities, that mayors in most cities in Europe and beyond Europe are setting very ambitious targets to achieve a safe, a healthy and an inclusive mobility for all, and also trying to secure people's health and well-being and secure the right to clean air in cities. So now in this session, let's finally give the voice to cities, and let's hear out what their plans and strategies are, what they are doing to achieve climate neutral cities and more sustainable urban mobility. So I would like to welcome my panel of speakers this morning. We have Dr. Camilla Byström. She works as analyst and researcher at the Division of Transport Planning in the city of Stockholm. And Camilla is also managing the innovation program Infra Sweden 2030 at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. Camilla, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Melanie Grötsch, she's a transport planner at the Department of Urban Planning in the field of innovations in mobility at the city of Munich. Melanie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Melanie is mainly focusing on the acquisition and the coordination of innovation projects in various topics, including future urban mobility. And our third speaker, Mr. Àngel López Rodriguez, who is head of the urban mobility strategy of the city of Barcelona. Àngel, a good morning to you too.
Good morning. Hi, Florinda.
Àngel is a long-time acquaintance of mine. He's also been involved in the implementation of the public bike sharing scheme, Byström, in Barcelona, very successful scheme, and also the parking management scheme, Area Verda. So we have 3 fabulous speakers, 3 city representatives, eager to share with us their plans, strategies, their experience with Living Labs. So I would like to kick off with Camilla Byström, city of Stockholm. Camilla, what is your experience in engaging with the citizens? We have heard this morning that there will be a stronger focus on Living Labs as instruments to deploy and try out innovation in transport, and the need to work with the citizens and having all stakeholders on board. What is the City of Stockholm's approach in that respect?
Yeah, the City of Stockholm has been growing a lot the couple of past 10 years. So both the citizens and people working and all the politicians are very used to the involvement in the city are changing quite rapidly. So many labs are existing in the city, and also lots of tests and pilots are being made. And you can also read about the city changes and mobility in the news, the everyday newspaper. It's a big topic and people are involved. And it's easy to involve them as well.
Thank you, Camilla. I think you had prepared a couple of slides you would like to share with us. Are you ready to kick off your presentation?
Absolutely.
Fabulous. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about how Living Labs and test beds and pilots and other initiatives in Stockholm play a role in development of urban mobility. Stockholm has a quite complex geography due to mobility. The city is spread out on islands and also in between the sea and the lake of Mälaren. So it's very depending on both bridges and tunnels. So the mobility can be a struggle due to geographic situations. And next, please. The travel behavior in a city is, of course, always involving, no matter what we do as planners, but we would, of course, like to do the very best. And the travel behavior is a function of changes in demographics and economic conditions, and also the transport system. One long-term effect is also that if looking back, people are traveling more and longer distance, and so do the goods on the street. But due to the global goals and the climate challenge, we have to do a big change there. We need to decrease the carbon emission per inhabitant. And public transport with large capacity has a very specific role in that. But now we have this pandemic situation, which has made that a big problematic. And Stockholm nowadays is having a big development phase, and it has had that before. It's not the first step. We normally call it that we're in the third step as a city. The first major step was in the early century when Stockholm was electrified and basic infrastructure were built in the city, such as the central train station and the port. And large parts of Stockholm city were then came into play. So the city that you see when you're visiting Stockholm is from the 20th century. But the next big step occurred just over 50 years later, in the middle of the 20th century, and that was when we built and expanded the metro. That led to a city sprawl with lots of suburbs and also motorways. So then Stockholm became, in a few decades, a much bigger city with both metro and large-scale public housing program. And nowadays we are experiencing a bit of the same, but we are building much closer to the city and are very aware of it, the importance of public transport. And of course, it's a challenge to grow quite fast and do it smarter and more sustainable than we maybe have done before 50 years ago. So the new houses is built closer to the city center and has all good public transport. But we don't know yet the future with the pandemic effects. How will it influence the mobility? It's still unknown, of course. Next. When looking to what initiative we have due to living labs and pilots and tests and so on, we do have quite a lot of living labs, and two of them are Mistra Sams and Sensible Stockholm Lab. In Mistra Sams, Sustainable Accessibility and Mobility Service, investigating what a future mobility system may look like. In that program, we have a living lab, and it's a local work hub, a couple of 10 kilometers outside the suburb of Stockholm. Its purpose is to investigate how new digital solutions can help the residents in the suburbs and small communities work remotely in a professional work environment, and thereby reducing the journeys to the workplaces and also the free time. So they do have another place for work closer to home, and they also have car sharing and so on, electrical bicycles. And those people are followed very carefully in that lab. And Mr. Sams is also having more living labs coming up about everyday travel. So it will be really exciting to be part of what they will investigate there. The Sensible Lab Stockholm is a whole other lab. It has to do with the many new data sources available in the city. It both opportunistic, it consists of all types of data, both opportunistic, like those data from mobile phones, so we can analyze them. Every people living or visiting Stockholm take part in that huge lab because they have their trails of digital travels. So in Sensible Stockholm Lab, we will explore how citizens are moving and also analyze big aggregated data and try to engage citizens in the decision-making process by showing patterns and so on. And many different projects is going on in that lab. And the aim is to get better insight into the urban ecosystem and its transformation through design. questions that could be addressed include how to access overall urban sustainable, how to simplify the decision-making process for urban transformation. It's huge questions and it will take place over the next few years. Next, please. Besides the huge living labs, we are having lots of smaller tests and pilots carried out together with the citizens. And it has to do with that our city is being rebuilt for new purposes. When more people and goods need to share our streets, we need to rebuild them so we can make place. We have less space for petrol vehicles, and we cannot let them take so much space when the city is growing. So this era is coming to its end, and the streets across the city in the inner center, but also in the suburbs, is being transformed to be more livable and be able to have more people walking, bicycling, or having public transport on them. And of course, there's lots of laws and regulations that need to be tried, tested, and reformulated. It's not only the design, it's much of a law exercise as well, as you know. And there are many good initiatives. And here on the picture, you can see public space, future streets where school kids with small schoolyards has planned streets outside the schools. And we have also examples of car lanes getting transformed into bicycle lanes, and we have many trials with better delivery traffic in Stockholm. And with all of these projects, we have evaluation program connected to it, so we can measure the citizens' experience and opinions and suggestions and so on, and also the effects on the traffic systems in the whole. One problem or possibility is that we need to have a system perspective. We can't just go for bicycle or just go for deliverable traffic. We have to have these whole pictures, and the researchers and so on are quite specialized. So a question for you that's here today is how can we reach the systems perspective with better living labs and share data with each other and conclusions and so on. Next. So it's a complicated system, and we have a lot to do in this complicated system. So it's very good to share each other experience on how to reach a better system in the cities according to urban mobility. So that's what I'm going to tell you today. Thank you very much.
Camilla, thank you very much for your presentation, also for raising some important questions. You talk about involving citizens and citizen science, so using data that citizens share with the city council, with your decision makers to take more educated and informed decisions. And you're asking a question, I guess, also to the other panelists, but to the audience, to this knowledge and innovation community. How can we reach an ecosystemic approach to mobility, a broader perspective in living labs, and how to share data? I think the data sharing element is one of the key topics that concerns most of the planners, most of the local mobility ecosystem, the need for standards and regulations on collecting data specifications. So I will forward this question to the next panelist as well. Think about an answer. We may get back to this question later on. Camilla, thank you. We'll wait to see if there's any question coming up in the chat for you, but I would like now to give the floor to Melanie from the city of Munich. Melanie.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine. Snow is out there, so it's a really nice day, winter day.
Fabulous, fabulous. I have sun shining on my left shoulder. So welcome to this session. I'm very, very happy to have you here because yesterday you were a wonderful listener. You have posted a couple of questions to some of the panelists saying that, yes, it's good to share best practice, but what about learning from failure? What about learning from the feedback loop that citizens give to you as a planner, and how to take into account all these different interests which are conflicting? So I pass the floor to you, Melanie. What's your experience? What are your success and failure stories? What can we learn from Munich today?
So then I take over. Thank you so much. Starting with the first slide, maybe. So I want to talk about how we can go from innovation to solutions. There are a lot of innovations out there on the market, but how can we really take them into consideration and get out of solutions for the city for a better mobility of the future? So I don't want to talk about special living labs or special projects, but a kind of conclusion of all those living labs and projects we were running the last years and how we tackled them and how they tackled us. So next slide, please. So some points about Munich and its challenges on urban mobility. So Munich is, as many cities in Europe and worldwide, facing a strong urban growth dynamics. And that's not just the city, but all the surrounding agglomeration as well. So this comes together with a traffic system that's already congested, not only the private car traffic, but also public transport. Or it was congested before COVID-19. COVID-19 truly was a game changer in this point. So we have a competition for limited space in the city. Munich is a really dense city, one of the densest cities in Germany. We have an air pollution that exceeds the limits. So we are among the two worst cities in Germany, Munich and Stuttgart. But we have aims. We want to get rid of those problems, and we want to have a CO2 neutrality, not by 2050, but by 2035. And what we need out of that is a comprehensive change in mobility behavior. So we are facing, I think most of the cities in the City Club are facing the same challenges as we do. And this is why we are here. And we need the change, we need solutions, and we need the acceptance of those solutions. And the first step for those 2 points is to install living labs from our point of view. So next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. Okay, thank you. We are thinking about different ideas or aims with our living labs. So we tried out not just to install one living lab, but many of them, or as many as possible. It's depending on, of course, the money you have installing them, the projects you have, or the funding you get. But we tried to not just pilot in one surrounding, but in different surroundings, the city center, nearby the city center, new development areas, or even urban fringe, going out to the region. So we want to test new solutions in different surroundings, in different settings, different frameworks, and we want to evaluate and in the end, of course, replicate, maybe after an optimization after evaluation. We want to try out similar but different solutions for new mobility offers, logistics, and smart city solutions in those different areas. So as you can see on the pictures, we had in City to Share one project funded by a German ministry. We had larger micro depots and a cargo bike delivery on the last mile. Almost the same in Civitas Eccentric, but smaller boxes, smaller micro depots and more open. Then in the Smarter Together project in Urban Fringe, we had those, we called it Smart District boxes, kind of a project we had in the EIT Urban Mobility as well in the Smart project. And we have local initiatives to take care about getting all your parcels. And the next thing is not just to think about those different solutions and different surroundings and bringing that back together in one evaluation. So all those projects do have evaluations within their projects, but we installed a kind of group within the city of Munich to compare those results and to compare the evaluation and have an overall evaluation of those projects to get the best solution out of those projects. Besides installing new solutions, we try to optimize regulations and frameworks. For example, parking fees. And we need a kind of written regulation on parking fees that really sets a parking fee for one area. But how to test new parking fees or get a new experience in projects that have to be implemented fast. So we installed a kind of opening clause that says if you have a special dedicated area within a project, so it's a special area, it's limited in space and time, then you are free to kind of test new solutions, and you have to report the results to the city council, and then they will decide if it's a new regulation or not. But you do not depend on a decision on the city council to heighten parking fees, for example. So this would be a game changer for everything. And of course, we try to participate as much as possible in national and international funding schemes, especially now under this new COVID-19 situation. So Munich was always thought about a wealthy city, and now we really have this game changer. Everything is stopped. We do not have the money for nothing, so we really have to be active there. But it's not just about the funding, but it's about the exchange. So all the experiences, all the other cities are facing or experiencing, we try to get the best out of it and really learn from other cities in this projects and living labs. Next slide. So some challenges we were experiencing within our living labs. So it's about participation. The topic of this session is living labs and participation. So we had different scales of participation. We had co-creation, we had citizen engagement, we had citizen boards, we had online dialogues in the various projects. And we were often facing that the engagement is depending on how much you feel that it's changing your life. And often it's the negative effect. So those people who think it has a negative effect on their lives are most likely to engage than the people that support something new. And this is often while installing new places or changing places or making even nicer places, as you can see on the pictures. We had this really from the citizen engagement, and the first step was it should be visible. So we had the citizen engaged. They were actually painting this in this magenta. But after 1 year, everybody was saying, this color makes me sick. So we had to change. And the year afterwards, we had a green and turquoise, and everybody likes it. So another point is challenges we were facing is late cooperation and co-creation of solutions. So, for example, a startup or a company provides solutions that are on a very mature level, but this level or the solution is not implementable in our framework. For example, they had sensors to be installed on lampposts, but what lampposts should we use? So we had in this area, you can, yeah, I think we're on a wrong slide. The slide before. No, the previous and the previous. So sorry. Yes, this one. And we had a late cooperation, so we were not able to implement those solutions. And we're often facing this challenge talking to startups who show us their very mature products, and we wished we had the chance to step in earlier and really co-create maybe this solution as a city to make it work and to make it implementable. Another point is for living labs, we need the allowance to fail. So living labs is about testing, and testing is always with an open end. We can't say that it will be a success story. This is not about test. This is not what testing is all about. But politics, if they take and invest, they want a success. And so we really have to convince politics that failing is no loss, but an important experience, that we can learn from fails and make it better the next time. And another really crucial question now for us as a city is, what are really our responsibilities? So if you think about data, is it the city's responsibility to collect all the data, or is it the responsibility of companies, and you have corporations for data and the collection of data, and to care about that everybody has the data security and data protection it needs. So we are not sure what are our responsibilities. And again, when it comes to mobility services, what are our responsibilities? Is it the market? Is it the city who has to provide services? That's an ongoing discussion at the moment. So next slide, please. Sorry. The previous. The experience, yes. Then I want to just some experience. We think that living labs are mind-opening and enabler for implementation. So if you think about, we had an enlargement of the pedestrian zone in Munich, that we wanted to take one street, this Sendlinger Straße, into a pedestrian zone. It's providing 100 parking, was providing 100 parking spots, and it was a really harsh discussion by the shop owners that they do not want this, and the residents as well. So we had the idea of installing a living lab. It's just a one-year experiment. There's nothing built on the street. It's just marked and blocked. And let's test it for 1 year, evaluate the results and communicate the results, and then make a decision after 1 year of experience how to go on. And the result was almost everybody was happy with this new solution. They wanted this pedestrian street, they experienced it, and it was really the starting point for the car-free inner city as well. The discussion was that it is impossible for the city to have a car-free inner city. So we started with the Sendlinger Straße. Everybody could explore how it works, and they could imagine how it would work if it is extended on the inner city. We need dedicated administration and local support. So it's not just about installing a living lab, but then you need the people within the administration and the city and society and residents and dedicated groups that really care about those living labs, by communicating, by really put lots of efforts in implementing, because it isn't their normal work. Normally you do not get as much stuff as you need, especially when it comes for building or installing or implementing. Then all these people really do this beside the normal job. And that's really, you need dedicated staff who are really into this projects. We really believe that not just one implementation in one living lab under optimal conditions is the right way for testing new solutions. So we need different environments and different frameworks to really get a true experience how a new solution is working, not just under optimal conditions. And optimization and change is nothing to be afraid of. That means if you install a solution and it's working, then that's not the end. We really believe you have to think about, you have to care about it. You need a feedback management. Is it still working, or does it have to be changed? So as frameworks change, as times are changing, you have to think about solutions as well. For example, the parking management scheme in Munich we installed was perfect at the beginning, but now we are changing it in kind of every figure, every kind of measurement that was taken. So we really need a communication. We really want to learn from negative experience. That is, we always get the information, as Florinda said, about the best practice, how the projects worked out fine. But I'm sure every city or every company does have negative experience. And we really want to learn from those, how to avoid those negative experience, how to solve them. We want to learn from each other. We need networks to provide this communication, and we need clear responsibilities within the city administration for innovation and for living labs. People that are dedicated to those living labs and really can work on those. And we need the contact. We need the contact not just between the cities, but we need the contact to research, to academia, and to companies to really know about each other's frameworks and needs and also limitations. So when you get in contact, you often, then it's mind-opening if you talk to companies what the city's limitations are and otherwise. So you learn from each other and you get insights, and from those insights you can start optimizing solutions as well. So the last slide, please. Yes, thank you. This is just now a picture where we can see where those living labs ongoing the last years are located in the city center nearby, in the north in a new development area, and in the west, really an urban fringe, almost outreaching to the region. So that was just a few words about living labs. Sorry for this slides mixed up, and I'm really curious if you have any questions or comment on that. Thank you.
Melanie, thank you so much. You have just gave us fabulous headlines with your speech. You touched upon so many elements, the need to work between cities, the need to work with academia, research, with companies. You mentioned the startups, how important it is to step in an early stage, talking with the innovators, and talking with the startups who may have great solutions, but unfortunately don't work in your framework. And you talk about also regulation, the need to have regulation to be able to innovate, but why not the other way around? You mentioned the example of sensors for light lamps. They were just not working for your situation. We got a couple of questions. I want to quickly pass you one, which I deem is relevant. And I'm sorry if I cannot get all the questions answered to you, but we will try towards the end of the session. So very quickly, Melanie, on citizens' engagement. So you mentioned that citizens' engagement is about people's participation. And it's also through online and digital participation.
Yes.
Now, given this new normal, I suppose, during COVID that we are heading to, what part of citizens' engagement should happen through digital tools? And what are the opportunities and the risks, in your opinion?
Under the new situation, we had two ways. We had citizen engagement in a digital way, and we really want to support and foster this and enable people to participate in online dialogues. We were surprised that because you have this picture of elderly people not being able to join, but that was wrong. We really had the experience that they were to engage, and they engaged very much. But we had another experience when it comes to transition experiments on streets. So we had till June, we had not the decision of the city council to do anything. And then in June, it was the decision. In July, we want to have experiments on the street. So we did not have the time for any citizen engagement, and it was just done. And then surprise, and the communication while doing. And it was the surprise, it worked out fine. So it was really the question, how much do we need? Do we need it for new solutions, or how can we accompany new solutions that has to be installed fast? And what is participation? What is about communication and evaluation in the end, or even feedback management? How we can provide this?
Melanie, thank you. It's a very good answer, and it's, I think, paving the way for the next speaker. So Melanie, thank you a lot. I'm happy now to give the floor to Àngel López, head of the mobility strategy of the city of Barcelona. Àngel, we know that Barcelona is conducting fabulous work with the superblocks, which resembles the 15-minute cities approach when you can walk and cycle short distances and access housing, leisure, businesses, primary needs that we have. And I believe that in this framework, managing the expectations of the citizens when changing mobility, changing the feeling and the look of the city was not an easy. So probably you have a lot of expertise and experience handling these expectations. Handling also tools for citizens engagement. I know you have conducted a wealth of work on collecting best practices in citizens engagement. Would you like to share with us your insight in the Decidium project?
Okay, thank you, Florinda. Yes, really, Barcelona, not only me, but Barcelona has an ancient tradition in participation of city. Remember, maybe you know that in the medium age, the city was the government of the city was delegated to a Conseil of Cent, is a council of 100 major people. So what at this moment we say the stakeholders. So I repeat, in the medium age, the city was governed by the stakeholders as a delegation of the king. Also, we have a good experience with the Mobility Pact. We know, Florinda, in the decade of last century, in the 19th and then in the first part of this century. But up to now, from these last years, we have developed a good tool. The Decidim.org is an open source tool that allows to facilitate the participation with the people. So we are going from the engagement, from the participation to the compromise and to the engage with the citizens. And these tools can facilitate this process to participate. As an example, we now next Monday we will approve the Sustainable Mobility Plan, and we have done more than 40 sessions online with this tool to participate, to reach consensus, and to have an agreement, a general agreement, as we can say, a covenant of people, a covenant of citizens. Okay. Well, if you can present the slides, I want to present. We would like to present you a project. Is a financial project by Urban Mobility, EIT Urban Mobility. Is a Decidium. This is a shorted word made by Decidim. In Catalan is we decide, and UM is a Urban Mobility. So is a specific tool to be applied in the projects on EIT to facilitate, to make this citizen engagement, this participation, consensus, and engagement on citizens and stakeholders. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, are on green. The floor is green. Well, the first part is about what are the strategy of the citizen engagement in the EIT Urban Mobility, and then finally we will explain a little more about this project, the task in this project, and the status at this moment. Next slide, please. Well, this is the framework of the citizen engagement, the idea. I'm sorry. Yeah, the challenges of this platform are build a trust for long-lasting relations with citizens. The first thing to reach with a participation process is have trust with citizens. Citizens need to trust with the process. Second, create an awareness of EIT urban mobility among citizens and end users. And then enhance the two-way communication, because participation is not only information, but to receive what are the thoughts of the citizens, what are the opinions, and what are the ideas. Sometimes citizens has new ideas, crazy ideas, but to be converted to reality. We need to preserve this popular creation. And finally, to create opportunities to experience new products, systems, and services. That was the tender of the EIT Urban Mobility. Next slide, please. Well, we proposed to EIT to develop a project in only 6 months. That was possible because the CDIM as platform is a tool, open source. We have a lot of experience with this tool, and is easy to implement, to adapt to the requirements of any consortium, any entity, any company, any municipality, even some departments in the European Community or in other councils are using this tool. This tool needs to be adapted because it's only a tool. It's like a word processor. It's a tool. This tool will not write your process, but will give you all the tools, all the things you need to have a complete process. It's for that we can achieve this project in only 6 months. From July to December, so we are in the final track of the project. We are involved with 13 European partners from different sites, from university, from cities, from companies, and the main coordination is made by Barcelona as a more experienced city, but also with the University of Lisbon and the Police Association of Cities. Also, we have a working group with other cities and companies that will allow to check if the hypothesis and the work we are doing is according to the expected results, and some new additional information we have received from them. As you can see in the planning, we are on the fourth task, just in the implementation of the platform. The first task, well, really the task 2, was a collection of best practices in citizen engagement. not in living labs, not in projects really, but on how to make the citizen engagement on these projects or in these living labs. I think is interesting to consider the living labs as a participatory process, but the citizen engagement is more big concept. Okay, so in this task we have collected a lot of experience from living labs, but not only on the theme of the living labs, but how this city, how this company have made the citizen engagement or the participation for their project. Also in the task 3, we have make a report on how to do this participation, this engagement, this agreement, and to check even with a final covenant of citizens. And as I say, now we are implementing the Decidium platform to be used by EIT Urban Mobility and all the projects that can be funded by EIT. One of the part of this final track of the project is to check, to demonstrate that the project can be used by different other projects. For example, we have a connection with MAMCA. MAMCA, as we'll explain later, is a multi-agent, multi-criteria agent. Is a cost-benefit platform. That is not intended in the Decidium to develop another multi-agent criteria analysis, but to share the capabilities of Decidium to get a more participative process with MAMCA. Also, another project like Bus on Demand project will use Decidium as a way to survey the users if they're interested in this service on Bus on Demand or not. So Decidium will be a tool you can adapt, you can link with Decidium to improve your participation process in a way very easy, and the most important, in these online ways. So that means you can reach all the people. You can reach people even in these circumstances as the pandemic situation, and you can store all the discussion, all the debates, all the information in a common place. So you can reuse and you can review all this information. Next slide, please. Well, that is an example of what we have collected. And this is a work done by University of Lisbon. You can go to the EIT after January, obviously. You can go there and you will have a very interesting repository of this best experience in citizen engagement. Next slide, please. That was the most important part of the project for us, and is a clarification of what different kinds of participation or engagement strategies you can develop, not with the Decidium platform, but in general. And then you can check, you can verify that, you can have 4 strategies in different levels of commitment with the citizens. You can only inform to citizens, so you are in a basic participation process, or you can consult, so you are able to receive a feedback. You will get finally some feedback from citizens, but you are not committed with citizens to do that. You can also go to a collaboration, to a more commitment with the citizens. That is a standard level of engagement So the participatory process where citizens can suggest ideas, can make some deliberative process, so on. But the final and the really commitment, the really covenant of citizens is done when you empower cities to get the government of the mobility. When you are promoting the consensus and the complicity, the agreement, and the engagement, you finally is giving the power to citizens, and you will work not as a government. I would like to note that we are evolving from the government, the local government, that means who has the mandate to do things. We are evolving to a situation of local administration, where we administrate resources, but we are not governing the space, the public space. Public space is for citizens. You must empower the cities to decide what are the use the citizens wants, the citizens commit, the citizens covenant to use in your city, and you will act as administration with only to chair the discussion and allow the decisions to the citizens. That is the really the final and the real citizen engagement as we consider. It's not possible in some cases, I know, but that is the desideratum, I think, for all this philosophy of engagement. Obviously, when we are trying for new projects, living labs, or innovation in technology or in services, this is a needed process, because the success of a pilot or a living lab, as the previous says, is not always the unsuccessful pilot is not always a good position for politicians. But we need to understand that if the citizens agree with a non okay for a pilot, this is a good position for a politicians, because he is doing the role of administrator, not a role of government. Okay, next slide, please.
Àngel, these are very powerful messages, and I'm afraid we are reaching our time. Would you like in 30 seconds to give your final message?
Just is the last slide, just to show that the platform is nearly ended. We are checking now the links with MAMCA. The MAMCA tool, as I explained, is a multi-agent, multi-criteria analysis process, and this is the data, the people will be connected to the CDUM platform. These people will send their ideas or their things to the MAMCA tool. This MAMCA tool will analyze all these situations for different agents, for different criteria, and will feed back to the CDUM processes to continue with this engagement of citizens. A different link is with by bus, is a bus on demand project led by Volkswagen and SEAT, where by bus use the CDUM platform only to collect, to engage users, and to make a survey to improve the service. So that is to demonstrate that the CDUM is not a product by itself, but they will provide an easy way to make participation in every kind of projects you have. And that's all.
And this is very clear. Àngel, I thank you very much. I think you are answering perfectly the question that Adriana Nitu has posted in the chat. This will be the platform that we will use as EIT Urban Mobility Knowledge and Innovation Community to share city experiences, to empower citizens to take decisions about the space, about the city, about mobility. So I think all three speakers had very powerful messages today. Presentations will be shared, so no worries, you will find them on our website. And I would like to thank again Àngel, our last speaker, Camilla and Melanie for joining me today for a very good and intense discussion. And thank you everybody for listening and watching today. Have a good day.